Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the show. And as you can tell, today we are joined by a very special guest indeed. You may know her best as Jules in the hit movie 645, as well as Treenie in Mayans. We also have as Cassandra in The Antidote and Sarah in Moon Garden. Today we are joined by Augie Duke. Augie, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for
I
having me.
I am brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us today. Um, you know, I recently interviewed Sadie Katz, who I know you're very
That's my
close with.
girl. That's my mama bear. Our kids are like basically growing up together. It's the coolest thing. Thank God for her. I was like, good. So we're both actors and we're both having these little toddler boys that are running around like mayhem. We can do this together. So yeah, she's incredible. I saw that actually on your Instagram. I was
Hmm.
like, there's my girl. Yeah, we just finished a movie together. I think she might have told you. I may have told you that we just did like a little action
Potentially.
film. Yeah, yeah.
Do you know
We
what to be honest, we were just rambling on for so long about so many things, I just forget in
that's
the end.
that's Sadie. She's your best friend right away. Yeah, she's very amazing. I love Sadie. I think I was just with her. We literally talk every day. It's really funny.
It's awesome. Do you know what's funny? Sitting here talking with you as well, like you both have the exact same energy. So like I can imagine how well you both get on.
I'm so glad we didn't know each other in high school because it would have just been terrible. Like these two chickens, like, and you failed math, which I did anyways. But anyway, no, I didn't. I got a C minus. But yeah, she's incredible. Yeah, she did amazing in this movie, Clutch. So I can't wait for people to see her in this.
Oh, fantastic. So obviously, Oggy, we need to run through. So, I mean, your IMDb page is pretty impressive. You have quite an extensive page. I mean, there's so much we could sit here and talk about. We're going to obviously run through some of the hits that you were in. Some of my personal favorites as well, I have to be honest.
Oh yeah,
Um,
tell me. I want to know what you like.
yeah, so, but before we start that, I'd really like to get to know a little bit about yourself and kind of your early start in your career. So how did you first start in acting?
That's a really good question. I love that question. So I grew up in La La Land in LA native. My mom was actually an actress in the 70s and 80s, but she did like tiny shows and then like a ton of commercials. And I sort of got the bug, and I never really actually pursued it until my 20s, but I definitely played make believe my whole life. I would shut the door and I would be by myself talking to books, talking to dolls, and I'm like, okay, I think I should do something about this. And then she put me in acting class when I was 8 or 9, and I did plays and theater. And um, after high school, I was very much like, what am I going to do with my life? What is my career? I would love to act, but it actually scared the shit out of me. Like I didn't know how to pursue it. I was like, this is really scary. This is a, a scary thing. I don't know how to jump into it. And I slowly did. And I started doing commercials, and it kind of just took it from there. And then I got the bug, the acting bug. Yeah.
Um,
Kind of, I guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree or whatever.
yeah,
So,
for sure. It's funny how frequent that is, and sometimes it's a parent, sometimes it's even like a friend or just a family relative, and
or
there's
no
always
one.
someone.
You
Yeah,
think so?
this is it.
Yeah, sometimes because I have friends that are in the business and they're like, I come from doctors or whatever, construction workers or nurses or whatever, and I'm like, and I love that story better than mine because I'm like, oh well, my mom was an actress.
No, I love everyone has their own path, right? Whether your parents do it or not, I think everyone always it's got to be something a part of you that's driven to do it,
Yeah,
especially to do the career you've kind of gone on to have so far.
it's a tough business because it feels like it's never in your hands, and some it's peaks and valleys, right? So it's like sometimes you're super busy and you're like, oh my god, and then it's just crickets, and that's the business unless you're extremely successful like Emily Blunt or somebody like that, which love them. But if you're an actress, it's a roller coaster that you have to go through, so you have to find like other hobbies or other interests, which I'm still trying to find. I'm like, do I have anything else I really like to do? But yeah, yeah.
So when you first started, whether it's classes, was it always screen acting, or did you ever consider or dabble into theatre work, or how was it for you?
I definitely always loved the camera. I felt like when the camera was on me, this sounds so maybe cliche, but I felt safer. Like if the camera wasn't
Okay,
on me, it was more vulnerable. But when the camera was on me, it was almost like a protection shield. I was like,
I get
okay,
that.
oh, you do? Okay, good. And so for me, it was always camera. For a lot of people, it can be theater, and I respect theater actors so much. So yeah, for me, it was the camera was like my buddy. I'm like, okay, it's me and the camera. Now I can do whatever I want to do.
So when we go back to thinking about kind of okay, so you've had some classes, maybe done like you said, you've done a few commercials and some shows. Um, do you recall your first real moment like as a working actor, the first time you were on set, or the first like holy shit, we're doing this kind of moment?
I do. It's a very interesting story because I thought the show was gonna be this big HBO show, and it was gonna be sexy, and I knew that, and I knew I was gonna be playing a sex addict, quote unquote. And I remember auditioning and call back and going through the process. And like it was like Al Brooks's writing part, like all these big names were attached to it. And then I booked it. I was like, this is huge. And I quit my job. And I'm like, yeah, oh my God, I did it. Um, and then I go, and then I got on set and I realized this is like Skinamax. This is like a very sexy. Do you know about? I know. See, not a lot of people know that I did the show, and like you have to like be like, oh, whoa, you did that show, and I didn't realize how sexualized and how nude or any of that I was going to be until we did the show. So, it was a very mixed bag of what the fuck am I doing to okay, I'm doing this, and then I sort of took it as like Sex in the City, right? As what's her name, Samantha, and I was like, okay, I'm going to
Mhm.
be playing that kind of character. And everything was a bit over sexualized because it was Skinamax, which I didn't quite understand or comprehend at the time. I was in my 20s and I really didn't get that that's kind of what it was. But I mean, they still booked all these working actors that were in TV shows and movies. Like it wasn't porn porn stars or whatever. It was, though they ended up hiring porn stars. Listen, I love everybody. No, no judgment. But that was kind of my first uh, way into the business. Going okay, because then I ended up getting like I did like 9 episodes of that. And that was just it was a mixed feeling for sure of like holy shit, what am I doing to wow, this is I'm doing a show. So I think we all learned and we all figure shit out along the way.
I mean, talk about being thrown in the deep end, right?
No,
Like,
no, yeah, no shit. Um, but I really have the utmost respect for every single actor. Like they were all professional actors that really took their craft seriously, and I still talk to some of them. And we all kind of laughed and went, "Okay, well, we didn't realize we're all going to be naked the whole time, but you live and you learn." I feel like in Europe it wouldn't have been so judged, but here it's like nudity is different, right?
oh no, do you know what's funny? I had this exact conversation with Sadie,
No,
and
you did.
I swear we
Oh,
had the moment. She goes
weird.
because we're talking like having TV shows and even like movies having like nudity, and it's pretty like pretty normal. Like it's not really a big deal, but I know that over in the States they kind of like even if there's just a slight bit of nudity, they're like it's blown into this massive thing. And it's
It's
really like to us, it's not really that big of a deal.
yeah, it's massively judged. It's in a weird way. I don't. Yeah, you're getting him. Sorry, my dog's like barking. I think it's
Yeah,
either
good.
someone's out there or something. But it's yeah. But then crime and like shootings and all that kind of stuff in movies is also another thing that I hate that Europe doesn't really like as much. Right? It's like why
Yeah.
do we? Which ugh, anyway. So yeah, that was kind of my big my big break was that. No, it wasn't my big break, but it was my way of being like, okay, I'm on set. Like there's a show called Wilfred shooting right next to us, which Elijah Wood was the lead in it. And so, you know, it was like we were on the set and it was like we were doing our show and they were doing their show. And
Yeah.
I just felt like, oh, this is it. So, and that was kind of, yeah, that was
Crazy.
really yeah.
So I guess if we go into like if we really look through your career, you've definitely worked in a bit of a mixture of different genres of film and TV. Um, do you have a particular maybe like favorite or preference you have, or is there something maybe you haven't tried yet that you would really like to try?
There's so many things I'd like to try, but I sort of it's funny. I think you probably know this. When you do horror, then you become the girl that does horror,
Hmm.
which is so not me at all. I don't really like horror. That's not my cup of tea. I think, isn't that funny? People are like, what? I'm like, yeah. I love dark comedy. I love,
Yeah.
yeah, I love real life stories, non-fictional, like that's kind of my cup of tea.
Oh,
Um,
very nice.
yeah, it's weird. People are like, really? I'm like, yeah. But I don't know. I've kind of done a mix of it all, and
Hmm.
I'd like to do maybe more comedy because I don't think I've done enough of that. But I did just do one with some really good pals of mine called Hacked, Shane Brady and a good friend of mine, and it's going to be wild, absurd, wacky, fun revenge film, but comedic. You know, what's that movie with Jason Bateman, Rachel McAdams? They did that one, Neighbors, or they're all married. Do you remember that? I don't know. I'm trying to think. It's kind of like that. It's got that vibe. Forgetting the
Okay.
name. Anyway, it's
Okay.
going to be a shit show in a good way. In a good way.
So I guess kind of like an add-on to that then. So if you were to sit down right now and to have like your dream role in a dream, doesn't have to be franchise, just a dream role, what would that be?
Oh, I love that question. Um, wow, I'd love to do a period piece in the 1900s.
That's so cool.
That because I haven't done that, and that's been my dream. And I've also secretly, well, not secretly, openly, have always wanted to do a Western as well.
Mhm.
Like, but back in the day, Western. So yeah, I think a period piece. Like, I want to live in a castle. I want to become that person, you know, completely morphed into this other character. Because I haven't done that enough, and I'd love to do that. That would be really cool. I'm sure a lot of actors would, but I would
That's a
too.
cool answer. Listen, we have to manifest it. See if we talk
Yeah,
about it, like we can get
together.
there.
Can you direct it?
Oh Jesus, I don't think anyone has a stands chance if I do it. I'll
Oh,
I'll
you
be in the
never
background doing
know.
the interviews.
Never know. You never know. Yes, that's something I would love to do.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I guess I kind of want to creep in a little bit into some of the roles you've played.
Yeah.
Um, so one there's a couple of questions I'd like to ask you on. So there was a movie in 20, I think it came out in 2021. It's called
Okay.
Antidote,
Yeah.
where you played Cassandra. Um,
Yeah.
so that movie just even to this day, if I kind of rewatch it,
Oof.
it really like I like a lot of horror movies, but there's something about Antidote that creeps me out. It's probably obviously some of the things they do with like the eyes and the tongues. Oh no. Anyway, so what was it like working on a set that just is with so much horror and gore?
It was actually really creepy and uncomfortable. We were like they built this set in like almost like a basement studio in downtown LA, and you walked in and it was literally it felt uncomfortable, but in the best of ways. And I actually, here's the funny thing, because you talked about 645. Lucas Batassi was the DP of that. We ended up hiring him for 645 to DP that, which is very visually different. But yeah, because I loved what he did with it so much. Yeah, but we had fun with that. But yeah, it was actually really uncomfortable. Also, I was in a they burned me, right? So I had the bald cap and I was sweating profusely. So the bald cap kept coming off. So I looked absolutely crazy. So when people walked by me, they're like, "Whoa, hi Augie." Ah! Like, yeah, that's me. So yeah, that was uncomfortable, but I think it actually, worked for for us as actors to be like very uncomfortable in those situations.
Of course.
And
Oh
woo,
no.
and you're sweat. Let me tell you about bald caps because I learned from that. They're uncomfortable, man. It makes you sweat like crazy. It's like because you're taking all this is gone. You know what I mean? They cover you up, so it's
Mm.
like plastic over you, and it's yeah. So yeah, glad you watched that one.
Oh. It was one of those. I think one day I was just scrolling through and I was like, I need to watch something. Let's watch something horror. And it was just something I hadn't seen before. Oh,
It's not
I
even
just,
horror. It's like uncomfortable.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh no, I mean, I'll definitely try to watch it again, but it was very, like I said, uncomfortable is probably the perfect word. Um,
Oh yeah, Ashlyn Yenny did so amazing the lead in it.
she's fantastic.
She's a good friend. She's amazing. She's such an incredible human too. Yeah. So
Oh, that's
if anyone
awesome.
wants uncomfortable movie, watch
Watch Antidote.
Antidote. But you know, if people do like that dark, it's because it's got the psychological, you know,
Yeah,
suspense drama aspect to it too. It takes you down a deep dive of like basically a bad dream. So 645 and Antidote are both bad dreams.
but you know,
Well,
well, this is something actually I definitely want to talk a bit more about. It has to be 6:45. Obviously, you
yeah,
played Jules. 6:45 for me. As I mentioned to you kind of briefly before we start recording, like I watched it last week. I'm sure it was last week. And I think the work that you both did in that movie was so incredible, and the way the story was told, and it wasn't just a typical like rinse and repeat horror of like a, because when you watch this and you hear about it, you do kind of think of Happy Death Day, but Happy Death Day is a very like campy horror kind of thing, whereas this is a lot more story driven.
well, that's funny you say that because I'll tell you a little secret. We were about to do the movie before Happy Death Day came out. And
Wow.
yeah, this is so weird. And we got funding, or we were about to get funding, and then Happy Death Day came out, and it sort of backfired. It was like too many, you know what I mean? Like too in their minds, whoever the investors were at the time, it was too similar.
Yeah.
And then we waited 4 years later, or 3 years later, whatever it was, and then the director Craig Singer, who's a good pal of mine, found a little bit of money, uh, and he said, "I don't know if we can do it for this low because it was going to be much higher." And I was like, "Yeah, we can do it for this low." It's like he's like, "You come from that world. I don't. I come from bigger budget, from like early
Mm.
2090s movies that were much bigger budget. Like we can do this," and we did it. And we ended up hiring a lot of friends like Lucas Patasi from Antidote, and everyone sort of did it for pennies and came together. And those movies to me are kind of the best because you're in this little hotel together, this little bed and we all stayed in that bed and
Oh,
breakfast.
really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wasn't too bloody on set. And we had a blast. And then COVID-19 happened. Then a pandemic happened right after we wrapped. Like literally, we wrapped, and then 2 weeks later, they're like, "There's something." You know, everyone was getting this thing. Crazy.
Time it.
Ooh, so weird. Yeah.
So, you know, it's crazy to me, and I actually have even more fond thoughts of the movie now that obviously I know the budget was a lot more restricted than what it was.
Yeah.
And what I love about it is it is like a horror thriller, but like the story that's being told within the movie is so beautifully done, and the I mean, I don't know if I want to give spoilers away for the ending. Is enough time?
Thank you for liking it so much because you know not everybody, it's not everybody's cup of tea. Nothing's everyone's cup of tea, especially
Yeah.
when it's budget films. So a lot of people are negative, right? But I thought for what we did, it was kind of cool. I was like, we did something cool with nothing. So thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, the ending is really what made me want to do it. I was
Yeah.
like, that's cool. That's really cool. And no one's really done that yet. So
No, no, and it's funny because it's like when I saw it, I was like, of course that makes sense. But then I also thought I was kind of, how did I not see that coming? Like that, it was one of those like
oh,
moments.
that's good. That's good. I'm glad because that's kind of what we wanted. Oh man, we got so much hate. So many people go, "That's the worst. Why did you end like that?"
Oh,
And then we're like, "That's the best." So we get both. We get the, you know, that's my real life husband. I don't know if you knew that.
yeah, I do, I know,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. That's who just took my son out over there. That's funny. He's fantastic. He's a fantastic actor. He was so eerie and disturbing in the movie. So that was fun.
So, when you, how was the movie originally kind of pitched to you?
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so Craig Singer is friends with Vincent Guistiani. I always get his last name right. He does the special effects. He did the special
Mhm.
effects on that. Vincent Guastini. And I did a fun, campy movie called The Black Room. I don't know if you, I don't know. It's a Rolf Konevsky movie. It was fun. It Natasha Hendridge and Lucas Hassel, all these Lynn Shay is in it too. And he did the makeup on that. He was friends with Craig Singer, and then somehow I think, oh yeah, so Vincent posted like a Facebook picture of me with like my jaw open or something like torn apart or something. He was like, "Who's that girl?" And then Craig reached out and was like, "Hey, I'm doing this movie," and that's kind of how we met, and that's how 645 became together. And then I was like, and then I gave him a list of actors, and I was like, "Here's some actors I love," and then I put Michael in the middle. Just to, because you don't want to like be like, and here's my husband, he's amazing too. I would never do that. I'm so against that. But I put him in, then he was like, "How about Michael Reed?" I was like, "Okay, he knows we're together." What a lie. He didn't. He actually didn't. And then he was
Wow.
like, "Who's this guy? He's really good." And I was like, "You know that, okay." It's like, "I actually did not know you guys were together." Like, okay. So, and that's how it all became
Yeah.
645.
So how, obviously in the movie it's very important for obviously your character and to have that like that very close relationship. Was that really important to you? I mean, obviously, as you said, it being your husband to be casted, was that really important for you to have that kind of chemistry?
You had, no matter who it was, it had to have real chemistry. And I wanted it to
Mhm.
actually be super real in so many ways because relationships aren't perfect. You fight. You know, when you, what it wasn't a new relationship in the movie. So if it was another actor, which it would have been fine, it would have been that feeling of newer, like, oh, they're excited to be together. But like, they have history, they've been together for a while. So I wanted that, I wanted the audience to kind of see that and be like, oh, these two have know each other. they have they have history. So, and we were hoping that would read, and I hoped it did. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's how it became.
no, for sure. Where was it actually? Where was the locations filmed?
In Jersey, a little small town in Jersey. Why am I forgetting the name? Not Cape May. No, it was called Bog Grove in the movie, but
Mhm.
some cute little beach town.
It looks
Um,
really nice.
it's so pretty. It's like picture perfect, and no one was around because it was winter. Oh my gosh, was it cold? No one go. It's a summer. It's a summer place. You know what I mean? So people go there
Yeah.
in summer. So we shot it the opposite. So no one was there, and it was empty, which was kind of works too. I think for the movie. Um, I'll find out the name and I'll get back to you.
Do you know, I'll find out. I'll find out. It's okay.
Find out for me because I'm flaking right now. I'm having mom brain.
Um, do you have any particular stand-up moments you had whilst you were filming?
Oh, 6:45. Standout
Mhm.
moments. Yeah, where the inn became like legit. I thought there were ghosts around. Um, here we go. So the what was it? The window, what are they called? The blinds. Okay, 3 in the morning, the blinds went up and down, up and down. At 3 in the morning, and everything was closed. There was no window open. And me and Michael were in the same room and we're like, did you just see that? Did you just see that? We both saw that. And so that was weird. Then we would hear weird sounds going up and down the stairs. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we were really in it, but everyone was saying there was a ghost in there for sure. So those were my standout moments. And blood week, when Vincent had to do blood on me every single day, because you know why.
Mhm.
Basically, yeah, I get murdered all the time. It's in the trailer too. That's not giving it away. But that was so not fun. So that was a standout moment of not fun because I had to be covered in this fake blood every single day. And as you saw, I was extraordinarily bloody. Like, can somebody else just stand in for me and just
Yeah,
get
especially
killed?
at the end of the movie, I remember it was
Oh,
everywhere.
it was everywhere. And Vincent loves blood because that's what he does. And he just
That's
kept
his
on
thing.
giving it to me. And I was just like, So yeah, that stood out to me too. And also we just had fun. It was really cool. We all had a good time. Became a
Yeah.
little movie family. So
You know, it's one of those movies. Like I said, I wanted to watch it before we did this interview, um, and I really genuinely, and I'm not just saying this because you're here. I would really highly recommend everyone to go and watch it because I think it's a fantastic movie.
thank you. I have a question for you. Do you like horror? I feel like you love horror.
Yeah. So yeah,
You're like, you're like,
I
no
became
shit.
no. So do you know what it is? I always liked horror, but I was always quite fascinated by how it was. That's how I started these podcasts. I was like, how was it like filming this kind of stuff? So
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
I'm a
Yeah,
fan of horror. Yeah,
that's awesome. I was gonna ask you, I'm like, why did you choose 645? And I'm like, okay, because you love that's like,
definitely.
and I actually like that one to be chosen for so many reasons. And like I said, it's not, we both said it's not just horror. It's kind of like it's all of
No,
it.
well, that's what
So
I like most about it. Obviously it's gory, but there's a genuine story there that does really kind of you're not just engrossed by the horror aspects. The horror aspects of the addition part. You're engrossed by what's going on in the story and trying to work out what's happening.
yeah.
That's what kind of kept me going in the movie. So yeah, and I think it was and again, you said the budget that it was on. What an amazing job that was.
Dude, yeah, you got to get Craig Singer on this on your
For
podcast because
sure.
he loves talking about filmmaking and stuff. He's really cool. Yeah.
So we'll talk about a couple more roles you have, and I also want to talk about a short film that you directed as well,
Oh, okay, cool.
because I'm always fascinated by like actors that then delve into like directing and vice versa as well.
Yeah.
So obviously you directed a short film called Keep an Eye on Your Six Pack. So
Well,
how
that one, so that one was crazy, crazy story. A DP I worked, so I directed a short called One is the Loneliest Number about my mom smoking her first cigarette. And that one was more personal and a story that I really wanted to do with my mom because she wrote it and she wanted to produce it. And then we had my friend Kevin James Barry DP it, and he came with the camera crew. And then one of the camera crew DPs, Dexter, was like, "Hey, I'm going to DP this comedy about these two girls, these two actresses wrote it. They're looking for a director. Would you be interested in directing another short?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's so cool. Oh my god!" So I met with them, and I ended up getting hired to direct their short. I don't know if it's even seen the day of like I don't know what happened to it, so I'm not really sure. But we had fun. It was like a 2-day little cute, shoot about these two girls that are cousins that have a crush on this boy, and it's sort of silly and comedic. So that's sort of that film. But yeah, I don't know. It was cool to get hired as a director, though.
so I guess that's something I was going to ask you is was that always an aspiration for you to do directing, and is that something you definitely see yourself doing a lot more in the future?
It was never an aspiration. It was never something I thought I could do or able to do. But then the more, as you are on set and acting, a lot of people are like, "Are you ever going to direct?" And you're like, "No, I don't know. I can't direct." And some of the best directors are actors, right? Because they get it. So I don't know. One day my mom's like, "You should really start thinking about directing, expand your muscles. Don't just be an actor." I'm like, okay, okay. And then she wrote the story and I'm like, I wanna direct this. And I'm really, really happy I did. Yeah. And then of course now I have the bug to direct again. So yeah, if it ever came up, I always think about it. I've just been so busy being a mom now. So I'm like, oh God, how to do it? Where can I find time to do it? But you can, you know.
Yeah.
So
So obviously, I know it might be very hard to answer from a self perspective. How do you feel yourself as a director? Do you feel that you're one of those that's you allow your actors to kind of have a little bit of free play, or are you very strict on sticking with the scripts and doing sort of X, Y, and Z?
I mean, I'm still learning. I'm so new. I'm so green as a filmmaker, as a director. So I wouldn't even know what I liked yet. I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna say free range. Do whatever feels natural and real to you. That's the kind of director I want to be for sure. And I also want actors to feel comfortable on set. Period. I want them to come on set and be like, I feel safe. I feel good. I feel heard, and I have some ideas. Let's go. So yeah, collaboration kind of director I think I would be if I do.
I love that. You
Yeah.
know, what we'll do is in a few years when you've directed a few more, we'll come back to this interview and then we'll talk
We'll
about this
circle
again.
back. We'll talk about it because I'm like right now I wouldn't even know, but I'm definitely gonna tell you I will not be strict with lines or any of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Um, I also saw that you did I think quite a few episodes. I think it was about 10 to 15 episodes on a TV series called Mayans MC, where you
Yeah.
played Treenie. So what was that kind of experience like for you?
That was the coolest experience, hands down, one of the best. We just wrapped last year. I came in for a tiny co-star role. And Elgin James, the creator of the show, said, "Hey, I want to bring you back." And I'm like, "That's cool. I don't. Who knows if he really means it?" And he texted me one day, and he's like, "Hey, you know, we were talking about I want to bring you back." And I'm like, "That's amazing. I'm 7 months pregnant." And he's like, "Oh shit!" And then he was so cool. He was like, "We can write it. We can write around it." And I was like, "Okay." But then I was like, and now it's getting close to me having a baby. So he said, you know, enjoy your momhood, go have a baby, and we'll talk after and tell me if you feel comfortable coming back to the show. I was like, I called him 5 weeks later and I was like, I'm ready. Like a crazy person. He's like, okay. And I thought I was only coming in for like one episode, tiny little part. And that ended up being 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I was like, so I owe it all to that man for believing in me. And it worked. And I'm so thankful. Yeah. As an actor, that happened. That was the coolest thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Obviously for yourself, obviously as you said, you didn't kind of necessarily know how many episodes it would be.
Yeah.
How for you, how does that compare to working on a like a movie set where you know there's kind of a prolonged amount of time compared to a show?
Yeah. Well, you know, there's a beginning and an end to a movie, and which is really sad. And that's why I think everyone gets really close on these indie films and
Yeah,
bigger budget films. And when it comes a show, mine was sort of like an accidental situation. So it was very rare. And then it goes to show you that you never know as an actor, right? You could go in for a tiny part, you going, oh, I only got like one line, whatever. That sucks. You know, I wanted, but that's not true. You have to put your you never know. You get on set and you make friends with people and you're professional and you show that your range and then the next thing you know, 15 episodes later. So I obviously I think a show is longer lived, so it's like I wish that these movies were longer lived, you know, because you only get such a short amount of time and it's sort of heartbreaking. So with the show, it's like you have a longer time with these people and you get
yeah.
closer. You know, you've known each other. I ended up knowing them for 2 years. Um, so yeah, but I always have a special place in my heart for movies, indie movies, especially.
Of course.
Yeah.
So do you have a particular stand-up moment whilst you're on set?
Standout moment. There's too many standout moments
Um,
because you know, you walk on set and you just feel this camaraderie and you feel this like we're doing this together. Sort of, it takes a village. I never go anywhere without knowing like I could never do this without the camera person, the crew, the this, that, you know what I mean? And so there's something so addicting and beautiful about that. And you just feel like you're part of something bigger. And I think that's why people love it so much, you know? So stand out is just getting on set and doing it, you know?
yeah, you know, it's amazing how it doesn't matter how many of these I do, it, it's always that kind of same. It's always like a family feeling, and it's always
Mm,
like this, as you said, this it's always too short-lived, and people always stay in touch for like I mean, I just interviewed somebody last week that was in touch with people for like 50 years and they're still in touch
yeah.
now, and it's just like it blows my mind.
It's really, it is. It's a very special thing. If you can find a gig or a job like that where, you know, you get on set and you're all doing it together for one reason. Um, yeah, there's something really beautiful and magical about that. And don't get me wrong, there are people along the way that are totally nutty and moments are not perfect. And not everything's like, oh, rainbows and candy, the set's amazing. It's like you're gonna have moments of like stress, and there are people that aren't gonna be very nice sometimes, but that's life, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so we kind of obviously talked a little bit earlier about how you can have moments in this industry where you're crazy busy and then very quiet and peaceful time, I guess. Um, what when you have those moments in your life where I suppose for you at the moment as well, being a mother, like you don't really have that complete peaceful time. um, but when you're so inundated with like work or a lot of projects and things going on, what do you do that kind of keeps yourself centered and gives you a bit of like peace of mind?
Well, I'll be very honest, and I think a lot of artists can agree with me on this. This when I'm really busy acting, that's when I feel the most centered. And when I'm not busy being an artist, that's when I feel chaotic. So so it's the opposite. It's like I need to put myself into something to feel centered. And I'm still figuring it out till this day. I'm like, how do I feel centered when I'm not working? So yeah, for me, it's the opposite. I'm happier when I'm really busy. Like I feel like I thrive better when I'm like have to focus on certain things. And then when it's crickets and it's slow, it's like your mind slows down and everything's like, ah!
Yeah.
You have to think about yourself again. Your shit, whatever, life.
No, of course. That's the thing. A lot of people have it totally different, and it is just down to that. You can ask loads of people for different advice, but sometimes it's just down to like yourself sitting back thinking, what is it I can do? But obviously, sometimes it's harder to find that answer than for others. Gonna ask you a question that
Yeah.
some people always seem to be reserved to answer, which I'm not quite sure why, but we will find out. Um,
Ah.
so out of obviously we know there's different like budgets and things, so I understand. Out of every set you've been on,
Mhm.
who caters the best food, or who's catered for you the best food?
Mayans.
My
Yeah. They had more money. Oh, no, I'll tell you this. There are sometimes on sets, people are big, like the director's a big foodie, like James Colin Bresic, a director I just worked with. The second movie together, he loves food, so he had good catering too on his food. But Mayans for sure, because it was all sorts of kind of food, and I don't know, yeah, it's because it's a show.
would you say you're much of a foodie?
I love food. My mom is a huge foodie, huge foodie. I grew up with her cooking amazing meals. So yeah, I'm a foodie. I love
Oh.
food. If you don't love food, get the out of here.
See, this is exactly the reason why if I was ever to kind of work in the industry, I cannot be trusted with a budget. It won't because it will go on food. Like I know that already. So I like I'm gonna put that out there. Do not put me in charge of any finances because it's going on food.
If you put food in their bellies, they're gonna be happy on set, period. Like if you know
Ah,
what I mean? So they'll forget about the other things. Like, well, the food's good. At least the food's
pros and
good.
negatives.
Yeah.
Um, so just a couple more questions, Augie, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Um, So, one of the questions we always ask every guest is if you had advice for people listening, watching, doesn't have to be industry related necessarily. If you have any type of advice, what would that be?
Can people give me advice?
I mean, you played like an Uno reverse card.
Yeah. Okay, guys, tell me what you think. Advice. I don't know. I always say this with the acting and just being a human is like don't give up. Something is coming along the way. It's be creative, try to find hobbies that you love. Uh and as cheesy and stereotypical as this is, like just be in the moment in life because like we have one life to live, right? And we're living it right now. This is it. This is it. So why are we always trying to look for the future and like, oh, well, that's something, oh, I'll do that next week. That's great. But it's like, this is it. We're here. We're living. That we're breathing. That's a beautiful thing. I don't know. That's all I have for now.
No, no, it's honestly that's I think sometimes it's nice for people just to hear that kind of thing, it's like a lot of people are spending so much time thinking too far ahead and not enjoying just the moment they have. And I think it's definitely important for people to do that. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, we all do. I do too.
I do it all
And
the time.
we all do. As humans, that's what we want. We want the best. We want to feel good all the time. And we think that thing's going to make us feel good, or that thing's going to make us feel good, and not just going, oh my God, I'm breathing. I'm alive. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So Augie, do you have any up and coming projects you can tell us about?
Yes, I can. I just wrapped a couple with some dear friends, a lot of little indie films, which are really cool, like Hacked with Shane Brady and Emily Zurcher, and Clutch with Sadie Katz. It's an action film, that one, and what's it called? The Workout with James Cole and Brezick. So there's a couple really cool things coming out hopefully soon. And oh yeah, and another horror psychological thriller that's called Thou Shall Kill. So
Uh,
that one is about I play a hot mess of a mother who gets kidnapped by a priest. So you'll have to look into those. So yeah, no, I've got some really cool little indies coming out, which I'm stoked about. So yeah.
Yeah, when there's kind of like official releases and stuff, like
Yeah,
dates and things like that, you'd have to let us know and then we'll make
I
sure to
will.
share them for people to watch.
Absolutely. I mean, it depends on everyone's cup of tea. So who knows what people want to watch,
Do you know
but
do you know the one thing, obviously I know you work in a lot of different genres, but the one thing with horror,
yeah.
it doesn't matter what horror movie it is, it doesn't matter if it's a classic or a brand new movie, you're never ever go it's gonna always be that 50-50 split. There's always gonna be people that love it and hate it, and that's just the industry the way it is now, isn't it?
Always. What that movie, there is a horror movie that looks kind of interesting. I think it's called Long Legs. Long Legs? Is it called Long Legs?
I don't know.
Something with makeup. I don't know. It looks really disturbing. And I'm like, okay, I don't really like horror movies, but when it's like really well done, I'm like, I gotta watch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's true. 50-50 split. Absolutely.
So where can people kind of find you so they can follow you and kind of keep up to date with your life?
Instagram, Duke. I lost my other account because I couldn't get back into it. So now it's Duke Augie. It's my name backwards. So Duke Augie on Instagram, and Augie Duke and Augie Duke on Twitter and Facebook. Yeah, I'm on all
Okay,
that
perfect.
silly stuff.
So what I'll do is I'll add the links to the top of the description so people can click the link and go straight to your pages.
Awesome.
Augie, thank you so much for joining us today. I have to kind of tell you that this is like been one of my definitely one of my favorite interviews. You're just very like vibrant person, and really it's been a true pleasure to get to speak with you, and you're such a lovely, wonderful person.
Can I ditto that? Can I also say this is one of my favorite podcasts I've been on because you're
Oh,
super cool
thank you
and
very
your
much.
accent. And I want to move to London now because it just seems so much better than the USA right now.
Be careful what you wish for.
I know. Why, 19, hey, period piece 1900s England.
There we go. If I ever hear of a period piece, I'll definitely put your name forward for it.
Yeah, just feel like you need an American that can pretend
Yeah.
that she's British. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.